This is Walter Hartwell White. This footbridge was a bit sketchy. Bird goals. The castle has been seized. Look how clear that water is. Tomb Raider. So many people around. I was under the impression that, like, the further north you go in Scotland, the quieter it's going to be. I was totally wrong. Everywhere's full up. My experience of driving in Skye is just like this for like mile after mile. Hi, I'm Walt, and welcome to the beautiful and intriguing land of Scotland. Join me on my biggest ever road trip around the far north of England and the NC500 in my 20-year-old DIY Renault Traffic camper van. In this epic journey, I learn about myself, the landscape around me, and some of the basics of living in a van on the road. There are lots of ups and downs, twists and turns, and plenty of hidden gems are uncovered along the way as I meander into the wilderness. In this episode, I discover an abandoned castle ruins on a secluded beach, and then head to the famous Skye fairy pools to explore. I also share some of my experience of driving in Skye, and why I decided to leave the island earlier than planned. Somewhere on the southern Skye Peninsula. It's like I'm in the desert in Breaking Bad or something. This is Walter Hartwell White of 308 Aurora Lane. This is a message to my family. I can't remember what else he says. Also, I'd just like to point out, wearing shorts. 31st of March in Scotland. It's like actually mild in the sun. I was getting too hot in the van wearing my trousers. It's so nice. This beach was a little tricky to find as there was absolutely no internet or phone signal in the region, and cleverly, I also didn't have any sort of map or anything remotely useful. Let's investigate this abandoned castle then. Dunscaith Castle dates back to as early as the 13th century, and it's situated on a rock which is actually separated from the mainland, and it's also been abandoned since the 17th century. I had stayed in Sleat in the southern part of Skye the night before, and I wanted to find this abandoned castle on the way towards the fairy pools in central Skye. Yeah, I could see this. I could move in, I reckon. Turns out I've already been beaten to it, as you're about to see. Needs a roof. But, you know, it's details, isn't it? This footbridge was a bit sketchy on reflection. I wish I'd tried to film it. Needs a new bridge. But not quite sure how I would have retrieved my phone without going back again, which I didn't sort of fancy at that point. Residents are accommodating. Yeah, for some reason I picked the narrow side to try and clamber across as well. Don't know if that made it hard or not. It just looked a bit more sort of stable. You just can't let go or slip. Let's go and invade the castle. There's the magical mountains in the background. On reflection, this might be my favourite day in the whole trip. Very calm day. But you could swim out to that. Although there's a bit of a current, maybe. It's another little bit of artwork. It's all been washed away. I noticed some of the paint on my van has been doing that on the roof rack. That island is literally just accommodated by seagulls, or not seagulls, some kind of bird. Bird gulls. Look how green the seabed is in places in the gaps. It's so clear. Like I think that's a sand or rock underneath all the seaweed. Imagine if you had just got bugging here. Imagine if you had a planet and that was the only island on the whole planet, like the whole of Earth, and it was just that, and the rest of it was just the sea. Do you reckon anything would, like, evolve? There's like a little sort of docking bit there, you could get a boat up on it, it's like a ramp almost. I don't know, maybe people have done that. Because it's almost like there's a bit of a, kind of like a path or something on the end as well. You know, are there any planets like that anywhere that you know of? Oh, I think that fly's like on well in the air. That's so annoying. Yeah, I wonder if you left it for like 4.5 billion years or whatever, it'd just be like a Starbucks and stuff on it. A couple of universities with like one student. See down to the beach down there. I wonder what this little hole was. It was probably a hole. Can't get enough of this shot. The castle has been seized. It's a little footpath. Well, it's sort of a footpath. It's mainly just a pile of rocks. Maybe it was part of something, I don't know. A footpath? I don't know. It's a bit weird though, isn't it? In between the rocks. I think this counts, doesn't it? Counts as getting your feet wet. Because I'm in it. This is the nicest day so far. In the history of time. By miles. Just sat on top of that castle for like an hour. Just a physics mug, casually obeying the laws of physics. The fairy pools are situated in Glen Brittle and overlooked by the Cuillin Mountains. I had no idea what to expect when I arrived, so I just followed the foot traffic from my parking spot. At this point, I remember thinking, I wonder if I've got the right place, as I could only see a couple of small pools and streams at the foot. That's the best one, isn't it? It's the only one that looks vaguely inviting. I was, however, surprised to see many beautiful pools laid out in front of me as I walked further up the path. Obviously you've got to find the hardest route possible to get across the stream, because it's more fun than just walking over the bridge, right? We're making our way up there. It's not very far. If you hadn't guessed, it was actually pretty windy while I was up here, so it was difficult to hold the camera still. But, you know, it kind of gives it that extra sort of slightly dangerous vibe. There are so many of these little coves and corners that you can explore up here. Like, I don't know, I don't think I went all the way to the top as well. Probably pretty close to the top though. I didn't swim this time, however, but there's always next time. That's some clear water. The rapids are almost like artificial, they're just so like, they're so bright and kind of smooth. I would go straight in, but so many people around, it just puts you off, because like no one else is swimming. To be honest, that would put me off anyway. Yeah, it was bitterly cold, and also I just didn't fancy being the centre of attention that afternoon. Some of the waterfalls and emerald green pools remind me of something from Tomb Raider, or some film set anyway. I'm definitely going to have to come back here when it's quiet, out of season in the winter or something, for a swim. It's a bit less windy in this little bit. Look how clear that water is. It's all muddied up. I think I'm going to sit there for a minute if I can get there. Yeah, I just remembered I spent a bit of time just wandering around all the little rocks, like jumping across the river. But I don't know if I filmed any of it. Yeah, I just sort of sat in the corner under one of these coves, you know, and like eating my crisps, drinking tea. I think overall impression of the fairy pools is that it's definitely worth a visit in person, because they're pretty spectacular to look at. You can just see all the like mist coming off the top of the waterfall there, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know how deep that one is, but it looks pretty extreme. And I don't know which one it is as well, but I read somewhere that apparently you can swim underneath a bit of rock in the fairy pools, like in a video game or something, but yeah. There are caves in this shot, sort of looks a bit like Planet of the Apes right now, doesn't it? I mean, that is flat out just a perfect swimming pool right there. Yeah, this is pretty near the top. I was getting blown away here, so I had to go back inside my van. Right, let's do a little update. I've just pulled up on one of the northern points of Skye, and the view is sensational. It's a little bit windy outside, so you can't really go outside. So I'm hoping that it just stays like this, because inside the van it's alright at the moment. And then I might just stay here tonight. And I can see one of the islands across, which is pretty cool. So I went to the fairy pools. I think it was just like the whole of Skye. My impression of Skye so far, I mean, I came on Friday, but the whole time it's been like really busy, which I just wasn't expecting at all. So everywhere's heaving with like tourists and camper vans and stuff. I sort of was under the impression that like the further north you go in Scotland, the quieter it's going to be, but I was totally wrong. Like the best parts of Scotland, I think from now on I'm just going to try and seek out more unpopular areas. I've just spent like most of the afternoon driving around just looking for a parking space. Like everywhere's full up, like all the campsites are busy. I went to the ferry pools, like a car park near there, and there was loads of people in that car park as well. Although, I gotta be honest, I am slightly tempted to go back there tonight, even though it's like an hour, it's probably a good hour away. Although that road, actually, I don't think I can do that road again. No, I think I'll probably just try it. The trouble is, I just haven't had a good night's sleep for like 3 or 4 nights now. I'm really fucking tired, and I just want a bit of peace and quiet. And I'm gonna get that here, apart from the weather. It's just gonna be really windy, so it's gonna be difficult to sleep through that, because it sort of rocks the van a lot and stuff, but I don't know. At the moment, it's so busy everywhere. It's going to be like a 3-hour drive to get out of Skye from where I am. And I have looked at ferries and stuff, and on foot to go to Harris from Uig, I don't know how you say it, which is really far away from where I am. So there was someone knocking on my van then. Like, what is that? There's a combination of the van next to me making banging noises and people like stood literally by my window. It's really weird. The roads are insane. There's like, it's like single drove tracks with passing places, and to do a mile it takes you like 25 minutes because you just sit in passing places waiting for oncoming traffic to go by. It's like a festival. Honestly, I'm really genuinely confused and surprised that it's like this. Like there's nothing much apart from, obviously, you've got great views and stuff. Don't know what to make of it all now. I was going to carry on going further north a few miles to the lighthouse, but so many camper vans have just driven past, and there's like one tiny little parking space. Loads of cars. There's manic down there. Something's going on down there. I don't know whether a camper van doesn't know sort of quite how to move out the way, or if they've broken down or something. There's a guy like directing them, but yeah, I thought they were all just blocking me in. Well, they might still do, I don't know. Yeah, this is my experience of driving in Skye. It's just like this for like mile after mile. I just don't understand why there are so many cars at like 7 o'clock in the evening on a Monday night. Like, it's a cul-de-sac. This is dead end road. It doesn't go anywhere. It just goes to like a little lighthouse. That, as far as I'm aware, isn't even a tourist attraction particularly. I know I'm down here, and obviously I'm a hypocrite, but next time. Got this all to myself at the moment. Can you make a blowtorch? Go to the end of the earth so I can burn things. It's like a mini hurricane.